SV Serenity's story for the fall of 2025 takes us from the Hudson River in New York to Hampton Roads in Virginia. Along the way, we would stop in Annapolis, Maryland, and several other stops along the Chesapeake. Annapolis would be the end of the passage down the East Coast for my kids as crew. My son, daughter, and son-in-law sailed from West Haverstraw, New York, down the Hudson River, past the Jersey Shore and up the Delaware through the C&D Canal and to Annapolis the first week of October. We arrived in time to enjoy the preview day of the famous Annapolis Sailboat Show before they caught their flights back to Seattle. I would spend the next 2 weeks in October interviewing for crew for the passage to Turks and Caicos, and also solo sailing the length of the Chesapeake Bay down to Hampton, Virginia. First time going wing on wing. There I would anchor in Phoebus Channel and make all the preparations for the passage to Turks and Caicos. That means getting provisions, bringing the cats to the vet, checking the rigging, among other things. Okay, kitties, you're packed and ready to go to the vet. Here we go. Leash in hand. Harness is on. Short dinghy ride. Okay, we are on our way to the vet. Yes. Yes, we are. We'll be back to Serenity later. Hang on, kitties. Hang on. Car ride, vet visit. What do you think, Quinny? Okay, was it worth the trip? See a new place? How about you, Jonas? You guys aren't too thrilled about being here, are you? Well, here we go. Yeah, I think it's a halyard for the jib. Yes, I think so. I didn't know it during my rig check, but this particular screw fitting would be my nemesis and would cause us to abandon this attempt with the Salty Dog Rally. We left Phoebus Channel at 4 a.m. on November 4th to time getting across the Gulf Stream in a lull before a gale would be brewing and chasing us south. We should have stayed ahead of it, but a day and a half out of port, while changing sails to prepare for the evening's heavy weather, I apparently furled the spare halyard into the headsail and it jammed. Furling back out and in repeatedly using a winch didn't fully unjam it. Unknowingly, I was twisting and unwinding the forestay cable and unscrewing that fitting at the top of the mast. The forestay detached at the masthead and irreparably fouled in the 2 spare halyards. A benefit of it being fouled was that it was kept aloft and affixed to the spreader. We secured the lower half to the deck and wrapped the remaining unfurled sail best we could. We dropped the main and were mostly bare poles and engine, still heading south until the gale subsided and we could make a slow U-turn back to Virginia. It was 3 days to get back to a slip in Little Creek, Virginia, where I could survey the damage and make repairs. The last 36 hours of it was a pleasant downwind sailing, using the second head sail, a smaller Yankee cut jib. It was really nice to see these dolphins welcome us back to the coast after 2 days and nights of getting tossed around.
Never had this happen.
To get Serenity back to ocean passage condition would require a new forestay and furler. Luckily, there was no other damage to the rig. This new forestay would have a swaged fitting at the top and bottom this time. No screw fittings. Since I had to wait on repairs, I would go back home and do winter things at the house for 2 months. Managing wood for the fireplace, clearing snow, and just trying to stay warm. It wouldn't be until after Christmas when the new crew, including my son-in-law, would make the next attempt at a passage. We spent a few days in freezing weather in Virginia, provisioning again. In that time, we also got to tour our Slipnaver. Storm Diver was a dive support vessel making repairs to ocean cables that came off the beach and run to wind turbines offshore. A fun little diversion for the crew before heading off for attempt number 2. It was getting close to our weather window. It was a few days before New Year, and all the fuel docks were going to close for several days. So as our last task, we had to bunker diesel to the boat to get her topped off before leaving.
Oh, you got the gloves this time.
With a different crew and the cats, we took a less than ideal weather window and left the dock for the second time on the last day of 2025 in 28 degrees. We had 2 to 3 days of heavy weather
Fenders in.
and cold, but the remaining days of the 7-day passage we had progressively milder wind and warmer temps. This attempt was not without its own drama. Huge waves were hitting us on the starboard quarter, pushing the stern and making Serenity do power slides. We had waves crash into the cockpit, getting those on watch drenched. One particularly large wave pushed us so far over we suffered an accidental jibe that damaged the traveler car. We jury-rigged a leash to the main sheet and were able to sail like that for the whole day. At 1 a.m. there was enough of a lull that I could center the boom and make a repair with Dyneema line. This time we would press on to the Turks and Caicos.
You can't go far, Jonas.
We arrived on a beautiful January 7th morning to Blue Haven Marina.
Made it. Blue Haven Marina. Serenity is at the dock. Now I'm going to get some well-deserved dinner. What a gorgeous day. Beautiful place.
The next couple of days, the crew would get some well-deserved rest.